Staley, has been through a lot though. I mean, this is a guy who beat cancer at the age of 24. I mean, that's amazing. I mean, this guy's, he's a married man with 3 kids. It's, he's been a head coach now. He's been the hot name in the coaching cycle. And now he's clearly down, and the value's down. And then I wonder, like, if as the assistant head coach, Staley went for it all the time on 4th down. Shanahan is way more conservative. Are we going to see the Niners now going for it more on 4th down? That part I wonder about. The thing that I like about Staley is that, you know what? If you're going to commandeer this division, you better beat the Rams. And he knows Sean McVay well. So, and he knows the Rams well. So maybe that's an advantage. He's also worked with Vic Fangio. He's worked with, Dan Quinn, some pretty good defensive coaches in his own right. So I don't know. I mean, it's odd because you're hiring a guy who has real credentials, but you're not making him the DC. You're not running his defense. You're staying with your own defense, and you're just having him there as a consultant. I really don't know how it's going to go. I would have loved to have seen Merritt just from the accountability standpoint. I think it would have made everybody uncomfortable, which maybe is a good thing, but I will say this: Brandon Staley has coached at some very good coaching spots. Northern Illinois is a very good coaching spot. John Carroll University is a very good coaching spot. James Madison is a very good coaching spot. The Rams is a very good coaching spot. So, we'll see. Ultimately, we've talked a lot about this, but I think what matters way more than this are what defensive players do they add to this mix. Because to me, I'm a players guy. I'm a personnel guy. I really believe it's the players. I don't think Hargrave was that great against the run, and I didn't like the backup defensive lineman, and then I didn't like losing Aziz or Jimmy Ward. I thought they were noticeably not as good this year defensively, and I think this is a huge, huge offseason. We're talking tons about the right tackle spot, and there's no doubt they need to improve their offensive line. But the Niners are kind of a finished product offensively. But defensively, you've got almost all of your backup D linemen you need to replace, and then you have to add a linebacker or two. You need a little bit more help in the secondary. You need those young DBs to develop. To me, their defense and the personnel and what they do in the free agent market and in the draft are way more important than this hire.
Yeah, I mean, I understand what everything kind of matters right now because it's the off season. So every decision that you make right now, is going to bear out. You need to look at that and forecast out, where these decisions are going to lie. One thing that I will say about Brandon Staley is that there's issues with him blowing games, right? Most notably the Jaguars game recently. That was a huge game that they let go. Another big thing is that for all of the processing errors that he has as a coach, and rightfully so, when he was with the Chargers, they had tons of injuries, especially on the defensive side of the ball. Joey Bosa was always hurt. J.C. Jackson was always hurt when he was there. One thing that you also have to look at is he's also known for limiting explosive plays, right? That's kind of like his calling card on defense, being able to stifle defenses on explosive plays. And one thing that I will say that's going to be that piggybacks on him always going forward on 4th down is that he's a strong supporter of analytics. Now, where that sets on how we're going to see the Niners, this version of our Niners in 2024, I don't know. But like I said, I'm choosing to go half glass full on this, right? Kyle has got a guy who we could argue is just as talented on defense as he is on offense, schematically. And At times, both of them have issues with processing their genius during games because I feel like they have a little bit too much responsibility. If they're approaching this the right way, this could be a really good relationship between the both of them where they could flow, the workflow could be better, and they could also bounce off of each other. And one of the biggest things is that I'm looking to see if Kyle is going to build trust with somebody. That's another thing that I feel like this also is emblematic of is that when we get coaches in the building, we are always asking who is the guy that respects that Kyle respects. Who's the voice that can get to Kyle and say, I think we should go for it here, or I think this is the defense that should be ran right now, or these are the things that I did when I was going through my terms. Like I understand that Anthony Lynn was also a head coach, and he probably served in that role admirably, but I just feel like we're going to see a little bit more of, I feel like we're ran by our defense, right? We're a defensive team, but like the minutia of how we go about things is we're offensively driven, right? Where we forget about doing things in the case of trying to move the ball down the field or score. And I feel like having Brandon Staley could be a possibility where we start understanding, like, you know, maybe Brandon Staley is the guy that's going to start speaking up and protecting the defense when he's looking at Kyle and he's like, look, bro, you've gone 9 plays in a row and you've not ran the ball. You're throwing my guys back out on the defense. And right about now, just out of fatigue is concerned. This is one thing that I feel like the fans don't understand as well. Fatigue can cut off a huge part of your playbook, especially on defense, because the defense doesn't get 3 downs. All right. The offense gets 3 downs. On defense, you got to kill what you eat. You got to get them off the field. So just by fatigue alone, you could really pigeonhole a defense by throwing them back onto the field, and they shrink in performance as their fatigue goes down. I feel like having a guy like Brandon Staley in the building is going to be able to help with that. Now, as far as like our main issues are concerned, I feel like those are infrastructure pieces that we needed, and I'm happy. We actually got more brains in the building and they're categorized in the right job skill set so we can go after the big issue, which is player development, which is free agent, and wondering what we're going to do with our damn near $100 million receiver room that we possibly could have, which is going into the draft and figuring out how we're going to find value with what's going to be the cream of the crop picks that we get this year. Are we falling in love with the right tackle that we actually kick up in the draft and go get an Amarius Mims? Or do we stand pat at 31 and go get the best center in the draft? So right now, I feel like this is a good, solid piece. There's no games being played. There's really no information being doled out except what we hear from the organization. So I'm choosing to be positive about this until I get new information.
Which I think is a good, that's a good approach for sure.